A new discovery. Samarpan meditation values. My salutations to all pious souls. The progress of our human society has happened in a sequential manner, and the human civilization has developed over millions of years. Initially, man used to travel as a nomadic group. Then he settled into caves, and then he started living in small tribal communities. Some people started moving away from these tribes and living alone in the proximity of nature, and having lived continually in the proximity of nature, they became one with nature. There are no thoughts existing in nature. Nature does not think, and mankind also experienced this in the proximity of nature. That thoughts come to an end in the proximity of nature. It is only man who thinks. Thus, when people live in the proximity of nature for many years, then nature starts flowing out of such people, and one does not even realize when one attains the meditative state. After having attained the meditative state, one experiences unlimited joy and unlimited satisfaction inside oneself. And having attained that state of unlimited joy, these people became one with nature. And then they never returned to their tribal communities. However, there were few people amongst them who had a great desire to share this joyful state with others. Such people did return to their communities, and they shared their experience and their lives' spiritual experiences with people with the aim of civilizing them. When such people used to talk, then nature would actually flow through their speech, and people too started gathering around them and listening to their talks and experiences. When such people died, their talks became teachings, and this led to the creation of Dharma. And this is why all religions are based on only spiritual teachings. All religions have taught mankind some do's, don'ts, in order to make them civilized. But all these teachings are external, and all these teachings have been written in holy books and scriptures. But since these books are external, some people abide by them and some people do not. And as for the books and scriptures are non living. They cannot give us living knowledge. They can solely and only provide guidance. Books can only provide mankind with information about a cow. But if a person wants to drink milk, then books cannot give him milk. That person will have to go to the cow itself in order to drink milk. This was the state of human society for many years. And it was this state that Himalayan sages and ascetics had been studying for the past 800 years. Many spiritually accomplished sages dedicated their entire lives to this study. And having spent their entire lives on this study, they realized that the human society can never be made civilized through teachings alone. because teachings are at external level. They work only on a physical level. The human civilization and progress takes place at the internal level. Inner transformation cannot occur at all through external teachings. Therefore, the accomplished saints decided to stay back in the Himalayas themselves and made effort to discover a way out with this. It was during the same time period when these spiritually accomplished sages were working on discovering a new path that a saint named Saint Gyaneshwar had taken birth in Maharashtra. He had proposed a path which was not based on religion and was meant for the entire mankind at large. He had tried to provide information about this almost 800 years ago in the form of a book named Jnaneshwari, and this was the first public attempt at doing this. Saint Jnaneshwar had proposed the idea of global religion and self realization. He had mentioned about this in the sixth volume of this book, Jnaneshwari. But he had only provided information. He had not thrown any light on how this could be possible because that time was not suitable for it. The search for self realization was going on, but the search was not over as yet. However, he had definitely imagined what was possible, what could happen. He had put forth concept of global religion. The establishment of global religion is not possible through any deity because there is no deity in the world which is worshipped by the entire world. The concept of global religion was just not possible through any ritualistic worship too, because there is no such method of worship which is followed by the entire world. Now, the question that arises is which was the path which could lead to establishing the global religion, which could lead to making the human society civilized enough to realize that a man is just a human being, that the walls built by men in the form of caste, religion, language, nationality, and split the human race into pieces. Saint Jnaneshwar had put forth the message that the entire human society could be bound by one thread and that global religion could be established. But he had only talked about it. However, the Himalayan gurus were still working actively on this, and they too had come out of the shell of their false beliefs only through their individual experiences. One belief was that woman is an obstacle in attaining a spiritual state. This was the social belief of society of that time, and it was with the same belief that these saints had reached the Himalayas from this very society. Then they created their individual auras through their spiritual practice, and they had desired that no woman should enter the area that belonged to their aura. And the same thing had been done by all others too. That's why there was no woman at all in the Himalayas. It had taken many years of their life for this false belief to be broken. When they progressed on the path of spirituality, they realized that this divide based on gender of a man and woman was only at a physical level, both of them possess the same soul. But by the time they realized this, it was too late. Since they had been sitting and meditating in one single place for so many years, their aura had formed so powerfully in that place that even though they wished to do so, it was impossible for them to break their own aura and come out of it and spread this knowledge that women and men are the same. This gave rise to the need of a medium who would spread this knowledge in society. Another false belief that was prevalent in society was that only sages and saints can go to Himalayas for meditation practice. It was believed that the spiritual path was not meant for ordinary people. They wished to break this false notion too. They wanted everyone to receive the inner knowledge, regardless of their caste, religion, nationality, language, or race. Each and every person has the birthright to receive inner knowledge, and they wished that this inner knowledge should reach all the people in society. But the problem was that they could not break their own powerful aura and come into society. And they were sitting at such interior places inside the Himalayas that no one ordinary could reach those places at all. There are some mountains in the Himalayas which are considered extremely holy. The tribals living at the foothills of these mountains call them the mountains of the gods, and they believe it to be so. Therefore, they neither climb those mountains themselves nor do they allow anybody else to climb them too. They believe that the gods reside there, and if ordinary people climb them, then the gods get angry, and this results in natural calamities. These spiritual accomplished sages had created their meditation place even further behind these mountains. Therefore, it was impossible for any person to reach these places. Now, they too needed a medium for conveying this inner knowledge to ordinary people. These gurus had developed the Samarpan meditation values through 800 years of penance, which could facilitate self realization, which in turn could lead to attaining inner knowledge. And inner knowledge would create the opportunity which could make it possible for each and every person in this world to know one's own self, to know one's soul. But how could these extremely holy values be conveyed to society? This was the biggest question. Then, all these gurus, through their own collective spiritual practice, gave birth to a medium who was completely empty. One who did not have any knowledge of his own and was completely empty. Secondly, it was the last birth of that medium, and it was the goal of his life to distribute the inner knowledge that he had obtained in his previous works. Because it is not at all possible to attain liberation without sharing the inner knowledge that one has obtained. The goal of every person's life is to obtain inner knowledge and know one's own self. But it is also necessary to distribute this inner knowledge and become free from it. It is not possible to attain liberation along with the inner knowledge. One has to become free from the inner knowledge too. Many sages and saints attain inner knowledge in one birth and then take birth only in order to distribute this inner knowledge and become free from it. This medium was also one such stage. It was his final birth, and he wished to assume a physical body only to distribute the inner knowledge and become free from it. He not only wished to attain the state of liberation for himself, but it was his aim to provide this state of liberation collectively to all souls, also to whom this medium had given assurance in his previous births that he would do so. Even these Himalayan gurus had waited for such medium since many years in the Himalayas, and the difficult task for calling this medium to Himalayas in Nepal and transferring these values had been assigned to Sri Shiv Baba. Sri Shiv Baba too had waited for the medium at one single place for 40 years and made this task the sole purpose of his life. He called this medium to the Himalayas during his lifetime and entrusted him with these holy values and authorized him to spread these values to all the people of the world. Now, although Sri Shiv Baba had authorized him, it was all the Himalayan gurus who had authorized Sri Shiv Baba to do so. Those gurus who had created these values through 800 years of spiritual practice. And Sri Shiv Baba too had given up his mortal body only after transferring these values to the medium. This means that he too had attained the purpose of his birth during his lifetime itself. More than attaining inner knowledge, the distribution of inner knowledge requires a very special spiritual state. Giving inner knowledge is more difficult than receiving it, and giving it to millions of people is not possible without the grace of God. This is possible only when a large force of gurus works with a singular aim on his task. Such an incident happens only once in many ages. The word for it is authorized, and the entire spirituality is based on this word authorized. The Himalayan gurus authorized the medium. This means that they gathered all the energies of the spiritual practice and transformed them into one single medium and authorized him as a representative because it was through this medium that these holy values were meant to reach the entire world. Millions of people were going to receive these values and become free. And having received this free state, they were going to attain the state of liberation. They were going to receive it collectively. Such was the great and vast thinking behind this plan. It was this plan that was being created for the past 800 years, and now it was time for the execution of this plan. Millions of souls were going to receive liberation under this plan, just as the aim of every drop of rain is only to reach the sea. It's the same way every human being assumes the physical body only with the aim of attaining liberation. The desire to attain liberation is not an ordinary desire. It is the intrinsic nature of every human body. Just as a river does not wish to meet the sea, but meeting the sea is the intrinsic nature of a river. Likewise, having a desire to attain liberation itself is a sign of spiritual progress. Very few people develop such desire because this desire is of the soul and not the body. It is the soul that is eager to merge with the Absolute. An ordinary person only lives at the physical level. Therefore, the desires of an ordinary person too are of a physical level. He never realizes that his body is perishable and therefore his desire too is perishable. Where one desire ends, another desire definitely going to be created. But the desire to attain liberation is the single most desire in a person's lifetime. Many souls assume a physical body with the sole desire itself. Here, it is necessary to understand that this body is obtained only because of our parents, and the physical and mental state of the parents will definitely affect the person's physical body and the person's desire too. These are the flaws of the body, and they arrive along with assuming this physical body. Nobody can escape them. But when a person experiences self-realization, then these flaws get dissolved gradually as one engages in spiritual practice. And then the person is left with only one single desire, that with which the person had assumed this body. And even this desire of the person gets fulfilled only when he has endured all the karmas from his previous lives and has not created any new karmas in this lifetime. When a person attains such karma free state, then he attains the state of liberation itself, and then that person understands that the state of liberation is not to be attained after death, but whilst one is alive itself. As long as you do not evolve beyond the boundaries of religion, you will not be able to recognize your own self at all. And until you do not know your own self at all, how can you know Paramatma and the path to one's own self realization? The foremost thing that is necessary to attain self realization, then, it is also necessary to understand its importance. And it is possible to attain self realization through Samarpan meditation values. Whenever there is a discovery, then it is done by a person of only one nation. But later, the benefit of this discovery is reaped by the entire world. In the same way, even though the discovery of these Samarpan meditation sanskars was done by the Himalayan gurus in Nepal in the Himalayas, today the entire world is getting the benefit of this discovery. And this itself was the desire of all the discoverers. This is what always happens, that any discovery takes place through a single person, but the benefit of it is taken by the entire human race. It has been the same with the Samarpan meditation sanskars. The entire human race was benefited from it. People of all nations, people of all religions, people of all races, people of different languages have all received the same spiritual experience. The number of devices that bring in information from all over the world are increasing day by day in the human society, and they will continue to increase in the future too. Then every human being will try to flaunt how much information he possesses than others. However, in an attempt to gather information about the world, man is drifting away from his own self. He is able to access all the information about the world except his own self. But he has no way of knowing himself. The moment he is born, he sees the nurse, then the doctor, then his mother, then his father, then his relatives, and then society. All his life, he keeps looking at others. Thus, he reaches the end of his life also just looking at others, and then ends his life like that. But he is neither able to see himself throughout his life, nor is he able to know himself. This is because there had been no device discovered by the human race which can be used to know one's own self till date. The Himalayan gurus have attempted to resolve this very gap in human society by performing collective spiritual practice continuously for 800 years and have discovered Samarpan meditation sanskar. Any person can know this himself by absorbing these sanskars and recognize himself. He can know the purpose of his life, he can know his capabilities, and can also know how to keep his life safe and secure. But here, what we need to pay attention to is that this sanskars is not a medicine that can be injected into a person. Here, the receiver has complete freedom of choice. The spiritual experience can be experienced only by such a soul which is ready to receive the holy value and who respects the holiness of these sanskars. Although the spiritual experience of this sanskar is received by the body, it does not happen without the acceptance of the soul. The soul takes birth within the body itself through this experience. There is certainly a soul existing in the body of each and every human being, but it is in a dormant state. Millions of people take birth and die too, yet they fail to experience the soul within themselves. This value gives birth to the soul. Just as the body takes birth, in the same way the soul too takes birth. And just as there is only one mother who could give birth to us, in the same way there is only one mother, the Guru, that gives birth to the soul. Just as it is pre-decided who will give birth to the body, in the same way which mother will give birth to the soul is also pre-decided. After taking multiple births, that divine body is finally obtained when the person receives self-realization. Thus, the birth of a soul is a rare incident. Self-realization occurs after receiving the spiritual experiences through the Samarpa meditation sanskars. After receiving this spiritual experience, the quest for Paramatma comes to an end, and then one attains the greatest satisfaction of life, that I have come to know Paramatma, that I have attained Paramatma. Paramatma is the beginning and end of every person's life. The curiosity to meet Paramatma, to know Paramatma, is the beginning of human life. Thus, end of spiritual life of a person takes place only after attaining Paramatma. This is because once we have attained Paramatma, then nothing remains to be sought in this world externally. Then, whatever efforts are made are done to seek internally and not externally. And then one also starts experiencing that Paramatma resides within my own self. Then that person enters the spiritual world and becomes independent. Then that person does not need any guru or deity or idol of a deity, nor does he experience the need to visit any holy religious place. And he finds that every person is alive. In this way, this holy sanskar attempts to increase the sense of humanity in the entire human society. This happens because the live spiritual experience that one receives is the same for all people in the world. After that, all man-made barriers of caste, language, nationalities, religions, regions, races come to an end, and then the concept of Vasudeva Kutumbakam, which was proposed by our ancestors, start being realized. The medium has been doing this work in the human society for the past 25 years and is traveling throughout the world for the same. And he can say this, based on his experience of past 25 years, that the task of bringing together the entire human society is possible solely and only through Dhyan Yoga, which indeed means connecting one's soul with Paramatma. The number of souls joining this path is increasing day by day, and accordingly, its influence is also increasing. As the numbers of people accepting these values are increasing, so also the collectivity attached to this work is increasing. The holy souls of every nation, holy souls of every religion, holy souls of every race, holy souls of every language are getting connected to these values day by day. In this manner, a huge collectivity of the best and superior souls of this society is getting created, and the holy souls of this world are reaching here through their quest for it. They are connecting through different paths, they are connecting through different mediums. Women power has provided invaluable contributions towards increasing this huge collectivity. There are two main reasons for the Samarpan meditation sanskar spreading so rapidly across the entire world. One is that the spiritual experience is the same for every person, which increases the feelings of equality. Secondly, there are no teachings in this. No teachings like do this or don't do this. That's why its doors are open for every human being. And because of its single most objective, that every human being should be able to absorb it, this sanskar is spread free of cost all over the world. No fee is charged. If you wish to know yourself in life, if you wish to unravel the hidden talents within you, if you wish to attain Paramatma in your life, if you also wish to connect with the collectivity of successful, holy people in this world, then you are invited here. Lots of blessings to you all. Your own Baba Swami.